Hey guys, today I'm going to be talking about the Curious George episode Scaredy Dog. The episode starts when George and the man were packing boxes to store to the basement, and the man with the yellow hat told them that they would never use the stuff again, but George nods his head yes, and then they went down to the lobby, and then Hunley was enjoying the day until George came down from the elevator and threw boxes at Hunley, which made Hunley very mad. And then the man with the yellow hat apologizes to him, and the lobby man asked him if it was it, and the man told him it was not even half of it. And then they heard the doorbell stuck. And then the lobby man told that Hunley will show them to the basement. And then the man told them that he was going upstairs to get more boxes. So then George goes down with a paddling bat, and then he lost it the first time in the laundry room, and Hunley goes to the basement, and then he realizes that it was his first time being in the basement by himself. And then George loses his ball again, and it hits the yellow box. And when Hunley was giving it to George, he heard a cow noise coming from somewhere, so he ran, which knocked George out while he was getting his ball. And then George went to go check on Hunley, and there he was, all scared. And then the man came back with more boxes, asking him why he's not storing them. And then he goes upstairs for more boxes. Then George knew that something in the basement must have scared Hunley. And then they went back down the second time, but Hunley was getting worried about George, so he goes down with him. And then when they checked, there was nothing to be afraid of. And then they heard the noise again. And then they ran up, and then the man asked them if they were alright, and George was acting very wild that they could not hear them, and then the lobbyman told them to calm down. And then the man think that something in the basement was frightening them, and then the man agreed to see what it was. Then the lobbyman said that he had to wait for the doorbell repairman, and Hunley wished he could wait for the doorbell repairman. And then they go down to the basement with the man, but George and Hunley were blocking his face, so he puts them down. And then as soon as they were down, the man gets jump scared by a mirror, including George and Hunley. And then they check the entire basement and see that there was nothing afraid of it. And then George and Hunley agreed, and then they heard the noise again, they covered their ears and let go, and they heard it again, and they covered their ears again. And then George had an idea. He puts ribbons on his and Hunley's ears, and then they went down to the basement, and George kinda uncovered the ribbon, tried to figure out where the noise was coming from, but he didn't know where it was at. So Hunley decides to walk around. As he was walking around, a hook took his ribbon off of his ear, which made him heard the noise, and then he gets scared and he goes out the room and knocked George out and took all his ribbon off his ear. And then George had to think of something. The closer he got to something, and the louder it gets. And then the man comes back with more boxes, and then he goes back up. And then George was wondering how he could get close to the noise without getting close to the noise. And then he had an idea. He got a voice recorder and a microphone and a hook, which he thinks you should save all your stuff because you never know when you might need it. And then they go back to the basement with their ears covered again. And then George gets a ladder, puts the microphone on the hook, and begins the recording, and decides to do it split it into 4 sections. The first one he did was the mirror and the cage. The second one he did was a gym stuff. The third one he did was hairdressers, and the fourth and final one was on the box. And then George stopped the recording, and they went back to the room and listened to it and see all 4 sounds to see which one was the sound in the basement. And then George finally realized where it was coming from. It was coming from one of the boxes. And then they went back to the basement and found the box that had the noise in it. And then George presses his finger at the box, which made it stop for a minute. But then, just a second, it came back on. And then George and Hunley got scared and they ran. And they told the man, they showed the man and the lobby man the audio sound. And they agreed that it was a creepy noise as well. And then the man agreed to go check on it again with the lobby man. And then they were both scared to open it, so they decide to let them use it. And then Hunley was getting tired, so he went wild and knocked over the box. And George checked what it was, and then he was all smiling, and the man picked up the thing, and it was just a wheel full of animals, and farm animals, including the noise, which was a cow. And then the lobby man think that Hunley was the bravest dog in the city, and then they took him back to the room, and the man wanted George to help him with the other boxes, and something made George get scared again. And the man asked him if he learned that noises weren't even a thing to be afraid of, and then he pointed his finger to the door, which the door was shutting. The man tried to get out, but they were locked, and George brings out a microphone, and the man agrees that they should put his stuff up here because they never know when they might need it, and he calls for help on the microphone. And then the episode ends.